So by the time this video goes up, it will have been just over a week since Beauty and the Beast came out, and I would have seen it 3 times by now. I'm obsessed, I'm not ashamed to say it. And I have written approximately 5 pages of thoughts I just have on the film, which I thought I would share with you, because I think if I did it in a blog post like I normally do, I wouldn't quite be able to convey just how much I love this film. So I'm going to do it in a video for you. Pre-warning before I get stuck in, this video will contain spoilers, so if you have not seen it, do not watch this video. Okay, so cinematically, like how it looks, it was the most stunning film ever. Oh my god, it looked amazing. It was so detailed and it was so wonderful, and all the costumes, the lighting, every single thing had been accounted for. Every single detail. Like, if you look at the old Lumiere compared to the new one, the amount of detail is ridiculous. Just watching every single scene was visually pleasing. And one scene that really did well with that is that in the castle at the end, when the spell is broken and it turns from dark into light, that was so good. The way that everything, like, it was almost as if the fog had lifted, if you want to go down a tangled metaphor. It was just beautiful. The transformation scene is one of my favourites in the entire film. The peasant dress. They put little details that make her stand out. So although everyone's not in like blacks and greys, they are in dark clothes and she's in blue, and it shows how odd she is because she stands out, and it's just amazing. For the sounds of it, the music was so well conducted. Like, not just the songs that they sing, which they sang beautifully, the soundtrack for it is fantastic. A bit of the prologue with that bit of piano, as soon as that happened, my eyes welled up, I was gone, and I knew that if that little piece of piano alone could make me nearly cry, I was gone for the rest of the film. There was no point in me even trying to stop myself. But every single song was beautifully performed. Like, they were all so musical theatre. Emma Watson's singing. She's never sung before in her life. She did pretty damn good, I think. I think that was wonderful. Belva Price, that nearly had me in tears. I had shivers down my spine, it was so good. And at the end of every single song, I just wanted to get up and clap. It felt like I was watching a musical on stage. And I love how they've added in extra songs. I don't think they slow it down. I think they actually add something to the film. So like that song that Dan Stevens sings, Evermore, I love that. Days in the Sun, that's so emotional. And How Does a Moment Last Forever, I love them. And the way that they put the songs into the film, it wasn't just, oh, acting, here, have a song. They weaved it in naturally, so it didn't feel forced. Like, no one seemed to think, oh god, I've got to sing a song now. They all seemed to just be naturally going with it. Like, the character themselves felt it was right to do that. They really felt what they were singing. Like, every word meant something. It was not there by accident. Every single thing was there deliberately, on purpose. I love the choreography as well, like in Belle, in Be Our Guest, in Gaston. It's all just so well choreographed. It's tight, it's concise, it's neat, it's meaningful. It's not just dancing for the sake of it. It's actually every movement has a reasoning. The way that everyone did the choreography and did the songs and performed it, it was just effortless. It didn't look as if they were trying, they were just naturally putting off that amazing. As for Be Our Guest, I am unbelievably grateful they did not show a single thing to do with that scene in any of the trailers or any of the posters or anything, because the entire song, Be Our Guest, blew me away. It was so wonderful. Obviously it's amazing in the animated, but in live action, everything was so visually stunning. The sounds were amazing. There was so much effort. It was so energetic. In this live action one, I also love how they've added a little backstory to every single character. Belle and Beast, their backstory, Gaston's backstory. But you also find out about Lumiere and Cogsworth and the feather duster whose name escapes me, and Mrs. Potts, and you see all of their backstories as well. And you even get a little bit into Belle's father and his backstory and why her mum isn't there anymore. And I think that just adds so much to it. You're not just watching a film about these characters, you're emotionally invested in these characters now. One character whose development I loved was LeFou. In the animated, he's just kind of there for Gaston's sidekick. In the live action, he's not just Gaston's sidekick. That's one of his elements of his personality, but you see him throughout the film questioning the stuff that Gaston does. So you know he has morals, you know he knows right from wrong, but he's still there anyway. He is his own person, he's not just an added extra of Gaston. I think we really need to address Lumiere and Cogsworth as well. Their natural on-screen chemistry really shines through. They're not pretending to be best mates, they are best mates. That person you love to hate. That's those two. You know, without each other, they'd be absolutely lost. And I love how all of the pieces of furniture have their own little story as well. Like how the wardrobe's in love with the piano. I can't remember their names. The love that Belle's father has for Belle is palpable. It is so natural. Like, you have not got a single doubt at how much he loves Belle. He would do anything for her. And he does. He tries to do everything to get her out of that castle. In a way, he doesn't talk about her mother, but he clearly wants to, but he's too sad. And then at the end, where he realises his little girl isn't so little anymore. She has grown up and he can talk to her about it. The Beast, his character development is insane. Dan Stevens pulled off the Beast's character wonderfully well. I was crying so much at the end because of just how much I was in shock. The thing is about Beauty and the Beast is everyone thinks Belle changes. Belle doesn't change at all. The Beast does all the changing. But there's those whole undertones about how the Beast can't fall in love with Belle until he learns to accept and love himself. Even if he is stuck as a Beast forever, he's got to accept that. He's got to learn to love himself, and only then can he actually love someone else. You can see the second that Belle meets the Beast, he's already changing. Once she says, I want to see my father, and he's trapped in that cell, and he says, oh, he's not coming out, Belle says, oh, are you so heartless you won't let me see him? He then lets that man go so he can say goodbye to his daughter. She's already changed him in like 20 seconds on screen time. I love how they've added in a little twist at the end, but it's not huge, it's only little, where the last petal does fall and the transformation doesn't happen. They haven't done it in time, but the Enchantress is there and she thinks, might just give him a second chance. Seems like they deserve it. And she changes it anyway. Regardless of the last petal falling, that's gone, that's done and dusted. And she still decides to start things afresh so they can all get another shot. I love that because I always want to give people a second chance. Granted, some people don't deserve it, but you never know until you try. That scene where all the animate objects become inanimate, so where Lumiere becomes just a candlestick and Cogsworth just becomes a clock and Mrs. Potts becomes just a teapot. That was absolutely heartbreaking. At that point, I was in tears. The music had me. I was crying at that because the soundtrack is beautiful. I was crying because Mrs. Potts is looking for her son. Her son's missing, so she just has to turn to inanimate without knowing where he is. Chip's looking for his mum. He doesn't know where she is. He's a scared little boy, and he just turns inanimate. The dog doesn't understand what's happening, so he's wandering around, wondering why everyone's not moving, and then he stops moving. Disney really know how to pull on your heartstrings. And the way that Lumiere and Cogsworth only finally admit that they really do care for each other as best friends as they're turning inanimate, that's not fair. Oh my god, I was sobbing. Okay, so I want to talk about the ballroom scene where they do the dance in the dress. In the lead up to that scene, everyone is always like, oh my god, we're going to see her dress, we're going to see her dress is coming, it's going to look beautiful. And then when you see it, it is beautiful. It's drop dead gorgeous. My friend Reese said he was quite let down by it. He said it was still beautiful, but it wasn't the best they could have done with it. I think I found a reason for this. So that whole scene, everyone's thinking about how pretty Emma Watson / Belle's going to look, how the whole scene is just so nice because they're dancing together and they're in love and la 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 la. I think the reason they didn't make her dress as pretty as they could have done is because they wanted people to think more about what the scene itself is about rather than how pretty Emma Watson looks. So if she wasn't a drop dead gorgeous dress, everyone would be like, oh my god, doesn't she look stunning? I want to be in that dress. I want to do that. But instead, everyone's thinking, yeah, it's a nice dress. And they're thinking more about the scene. Like, so the fact that that scene has been put there so you can see Belle and Beast's relationship has changed slightly. They are falling in love with each other and they're both a little bit concerned about what that means for each other. This is the first time they've really been intimate together. They're thinking more about that than the dress itself and how pretty it looks. That's just what I think though. The thing is, this film could have been absolutely diabolical and I would have still loved it. My favourite Disney film, till about 6 years old, was Cinderella, but I distinctly remember one time when I was about 6, I was watching the animated Beauty and the Beast, and for some reason, I just completely fell in love with it that one sitting where I viewed it. That wasn't the first time I viewed it, I'd seen it hundreds of times before then, but this time specifically, I just completely fell in love with it, and ever since then, it had been my favourite Disney film up until about the age of 17. For a good 10 years of my life, Beauty and the Beast was my favourite Disney film, and to this day, it's still one of my favourite Disney films. So watching this, it could have been the worst adaptation ever, and I would have still loved it. I think a lot of the reason I love this film so much is because I really resonate with Belle. I know that everyone says that, but growing up, especially in secondary schools, I was that person that would stay inside and read because I had difficulty making friends. And everyone thought I was weird because at that age that everyone goes through, they're like, reading, oh, that's so weird. I never went through that. I stayed inside and read all the time, and I didn't bat an eyelid. Everyone thought I was weird because I was ridiculously short. I would talk to myself, I would read. I was just that weird person in your year. You know, you get that one weird person in your year. That's me. So not only do I relate to the main character in this film, I also have a huge sentimental value towards Beauty and the Beast. So I am going to fall in love with this film no matter what. And the actors in it and the actresses, they really outdid themselves. So I was going to love Emma Watson anyway because she's in my favourite franchise, which is Harry Potter. But she really, really shone in this because this is very different to Harry Potter. And Dan Stevens, he was obviously in one of my favourite TV shows, Downton Abbey, but in this you really see a lot more to his character rather than just some stuck-up schoolboy. Luke Evans, he really pulled off Gaston. Gaston is now that one character that I love to hate. He's not magic, he hasn't got any powers, he's just really good at manipulating people into thinking the same way as him. He's a very clever villain. One thing I will say about Gaston, he says, oh, Bella's the most beautiful one and that makes her the best, blah 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 blah. And he does say that in the animated, but he also notices her other qualities. He doesn't discourage her from reading, ever. At the end of the first song, Belle, he says to her, oh, it's a good book, and she says, oh, have you read it? He goes, no, but you know, books and all that. He agrees. He encourages her reading. He doesn't discourage her at all. He doesn't mind the fact that she's odd. He actually likes other qualities to Belle than her face. It's the way he says about you've got those three girls who are like, oh, Gaston, he's so cute, be still my heart. He says, oh, she's the only girl not falling at my feet to win my affections. He doesn't like people falling at his feet to get his affections. So when Belle doesn't, that makes him love her even more. Granted, when she says no to him, he probably should take that and not push it any further because that makes him a bit of a dick. But at least he likes more to Belle than just her face. And LeFou, I love him to pieces, bless him. At the end, he changes sides. He turns from a villain into a good person. Sorry, I got a little bit enthusiastic. I love it so much. I couldn't be happier with the live action remake at all. A lot of people don't agree with me. There's been a lot of criticism towards the film. Feel free to have a chat with me in the comments. I'd love to know what other people think of the film. So that's it. So let me know what you think, and bye.